Hello, happy Tuesday this week, but welcome to another edition of Sermon Scraps. Hope you guys all had a wonderful 4th of July. That is the reason I'm coming to you from Tuesday today. This week we looked at Psalm 14 together, and I just wanted to talk a little bit further about some of the apologetics stuff that I kind of dipped my toe into this past week. One of my favorite medieval scholars is Anselm of Canterbury. He had a Latin phrase that is fides quaerens intellectum, which means faith-seeking understanding. So that's I think of another passage where a man falls at Jesus' feet and says, "I believe, help my unbelief." So there are always going to be areas that we struggle to believe that God is true. But what I was trying to get at Sunday was there are logical and intellectual reasons to believe. However, despite there being logical and reasonable reasons to believe, apart from the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit working in someone's life, no one will believe. But we also need to acknowledge and realize that we still should know, understand, and study a lot of the reasons why Christianity is believable, is understandable, is intellectually stimulating. But then I think part of the reason that we should study that is because if or when we start struggling, what I have found personally is looking back at some of those intellectual arguments and reasons, or some of the reasons that I can stand firm in my Christian faith. You also need to look. I remember. So I mentioned this book Sunday, Christian Apologetics by Douglas Groothuis. He's got a second edition to this that just recently came out, and he added 200 pages or something like that, with a couple of sections on the church and liturgy and how those things shape and inform us as an apologetic witness. And one of the things he talked about is he mentioned people that had become convinced Christians because of the intellectual arguments. So C.S. Lewis is one of those people that essentially, because of the apologetic arguments, became a Christian. Someone like Elise Strobel, who did a serious investigation and study into the Christian faith and came out on the other side of it a Christian. There's another one that I've mentioned before in different contexts, The Rise of Christianity by Rodney Stark. Rodney is a sociologist, and so he wrote a book just on how Christianity could have, through normal social means, spread to become the predominant religion, just again using pure sociological data. And he, in his own description when he started writing the book, was an unbeliever, and he just says that he wrote himself into faith. So now he's a believer because of the work that he did on studying the historical and intellectual veracity of the Christian faith. So I just wanted to recommend a couple other resources for you. One of the ones that is more recent that I've been enjoying is a YouTube guy, a guy named Gavin Ortlund. I've actually talked about his book before. If I have it. I don't know where I put it. But he's got a book called Finding the Right Hills to Die On that is super helpful. So Gavin Ortlund also has a YouTube channel called Truth Unites. I'll link to it in the email that I'll send out. There are also some apologetics videos on Right Now Media, which the church has a subscription to. So if you don't have that, email any of us on staff and we'll be able to give you access to it. So some of the ones that I would recommend are Tim Keller has one. He wrote a book called The Reason for God, I believe is the name of it. Probably 10, 15 years ago now, that is really, really good. But there's a video series on Right Now Media for that. Sean McDowell has some really good videos, even some really brief, 2-minute general apologetic videos. Lee Strobel has some videos on there as well. A couple other books that might be helpful. John Feiberg, who taught at Trinity, our seminary in Chicago, did a book called Can You Believe It's True? Christian Apologetics in a Modern and Postmodern Era. An old classic. This is a super old book that I have, a hand-me-down from my dad, The Universe Next Door by James Sire, looking at various worldviews and studies. One that I've actually taken a youth group through is Truth Matters, Confident Faith in a Confusing World. Andreas Kostenberger, Daryl Bach, and Josh Shatro. So fairly easy to understand and very brief introduction to the realm of apologetics. So that is all I want to talk about with Psalm 14. We'll be talking about Psalm 15 this next week. One other note along with that, we are still looking for people to help out with kids ministry. So if you are one of those people that would be willing to either be a sub or be a more regular volunteer in kids ministry, reach out to Erin. Her email is erinr@ssefc.org. That would be greatly appreciated. And Lord willing, we'll see you all on Sunday.